Hey, what's up pretty people, hope you're doing well. I'm SUBCSRIBE and welcome you to my channel, and today I'll be showing you how you can transform your images into a cinematic scene only using Lightroom and Adobe Photoshop. So there are a few key steps that we might implement today in our photo editing, and first is proper color grading, second is adding grains, and third is adding those cinematic type bars over the image that you might have seen in movies to give that really good, cool vibe to our images. So let's have fun. So we'll be working with this image. So first things first, we are going to do the basic adjustments in Lightroom. You can also do it in Photoshop, but in that case we have to do it in camera raw filter, and I just prefer to do this basic adjustments in Lightroom. So what we're going to do is first I'm just going to increase the highlights. I think exposure and contrast is just fine. We would change it if we need it later on. We would decrease the shadows. We're gonna decrease the whites a little bit, just a little, and maybe bring down the blacks. I'm just going to bring it up, not that much, up to +10 will do. Now clarity, we might want to decrease the clarity a little bit, because if we just zoom in, you can see this texture of the skin, maybe it's a little harsh, and we really need a smooth kind of texture all over our skin, maybe. So not only on our skin but throughout the image. So let's bring the clarity down just a little bit. I think minus, let's bring it in the middle. Alright, I think -15 will do, a little bit. So that's it, and I think I'm going to bring up the vibrance. Yeah, that's it. Now we are going to edit this image in Adobe Photoshop. So we are here in Adobe Photoshop, and the next thing that we're going to do is color grade this image. So first things first that I want to show it to you is that since the background of this image was a little brightened up, so what I did is basically I just used this level adjustment to darken up the background so that our subject is more in focus and have more brightness. It's very optional. I just wanted it to do for my preference, so I did it. So this is not the main part, so let's get started with the main part. Alright, so I think I'm just going to have this two layer within a group. Just press Ctrl G to create group. So I just did this small change. It really depends on you if you want to do it. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add colors. Now we are aiming to add complementary colors in the highlights and the shadow regions, as you have seen in movies. So we are going to achieve that kind of look, of course. So go to adjustment and go to solid color adjustment layer. Now I think I'm going to go for a blue color shadow, a little deep blue. Alright, so sorry for this. Yeah, so I'm going to decrease the opacity. I think this much. Yeah, this much is good. Now I'm just going to restrict this blue color only to the shadow region, and because as you can see it's completely filled up within this image. So what you're going to do to restrict this color is that come to the right side of this layer, and double click to use the blend if option. So in this layer style dialog box will get opened, and you will come to this underlying layer. So what we're going to do is we have to remove the blue color from the highlights region, right? So click on this white area pointer and bring it towards the black. As you can see how it was fully blue, and now the blue color is getting removed from the highlight areas. As you can see that this transition is very harsh. So what we can do to make it more smooth is hold Alt option and then click and drag. It would make the transition look smooth. I think it's looking good. So okay. So yeah, so we successfully added shadow color of our image. So I'm just keeping this in normal mode because I think it's very suitable. Now we are going to add contrast color in the highlights. So I'm again using solid color, and now I'm going for a little yellowish color in to have a warm kind of highlight. So click on OK. I think this yellow color will just do fine. So bring down this opacity. I think this much will do. Now we are just going to same, that is restrict this yellow color only to the highlight areas. And what we have to do, we have to use the blend if tool. How are we going to use it? Just come to the right side of this layer and double click, and when we have our layer style dialog box open, come to the underlying layer. Now we're just going to do the opposite. We're going to hold this pointer in the black region, or the dark region if you will, and we're gonna bring it towards the white area. Now since the transition is harsh, what we can do is hold Alt or Option and then click and drag. Just do as you would prefer to do. I think I need this highlights in these areas also a little bit, so I think I'm going to bring it not much, but just a little bit, because I want this highlights over these areas also. So let's see. Try to make it realistic, and I think I'm good with it. And I'm going to change the blending mode of this highlight colors. So I think color dodge will just work good, or screen. Okay, let's see for the color dodge. Now bring down the opacity. Bring down the fill just a little bit. I think it's good. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to increase this. So I'm going to decrease this blue opacity just a little bit towards 42ish. And so let me show you the changes that we just made. Let's put down this highlight color and the shadow color into one group. So I'm just going to select both of the layer and click on Ctrl G. So this is before and this is the after. I think this picture is a little darkened, so I'm just going to brighten up this image just a little bit and bring down the shadow just a tad, just to give it a punchy look as we talked about. So this is before, this is after. So now what we're going to do, the next thing is that we're going to add grains over this image. And to add grains, what we have to do is I'm just going to merge all this layer up. So click on this new layer and now type on Ctrl Shift Alt or Option E to have the merged version of this image. Now I'm just going to change it to a smart object. Go to Convert to Smart Object and just wait. Yeah, it's done. Smart object is ready. We just wanted to convert it into smart object first so that it is indestructible. We can come here if any change is required and we can change the effect. So go to filter and camera filter, and from here we're going to add those grains, and we are going to add really harsh grains to bring that cinematic vibe in our image. So come over to the effects panel and here you will see the grain. Increase it. Just go on increasing till you really get that grainy texture over this image like this. I'm going to increase the size also. I think roughness is just fine. We will change it if we require it later on, but I don't think I need to change the roughness. It just looks fine. Let's bring it to 58. Yeah. Alright, let's bring it down. I'm not sure if it's looking good or not. Yeah, 53 will do just fine. Click on OK. Yeah, it's done. So this is before adding the grains and this is after. it's all done. Now what we're going to do is we're going to add cinematic crop over this image, or should I say cinematic bars over this image, which was the third step. Alright, so before we get started with adding the cinematic bars over the image, just make sure to crop your image. So what's the perfect crop ratio for your picture? I would say the perfect one is the 16:9, which you would see in many cases of videos, or if you are someone into videography, then you might know what I'm talking about. So 1280x720 is the perfect ratio for having this cinematic style of image. Now mine is already cropped, so it's good to go. If it's not for you, please always use 1280x720 crop ratio, because it's the best ratio for your cinematic style image. So what we're going to do is, again, click on this new layer, and we're going to merge all this layer, and we're going to work on this. So to do a perfectly cinematic crop, what you're going to do is we will use this rectangular marquee tool, and please just make sure that the width and height is 2.35 and the height is 1, because this is the preferable aspect ratio that you should use to have that kind of cinematic bars over your image, or any kind of that stuff or effect on your image. So just click and drag, make sure that it is in the center. And how you can make sure it's in the center, just you can use the rule, bring it at the middle of the frame, and just bring it in the middle of the frame, and yeah, that's it. So after you have made this selection, click on right click and select inverse. So now what we're going to do is we're going to fill this selection at the edges with black, and to do that we're going to hold on Shift F5 to have this fill dialog box. Make sure that black is selected, and OK, voila, our cinematic bars is here, and it's really looking good. It's really looking cinematic. Now let me do one last thing, is I'm just going to add a little fade effect on this picture and make it a little more contrasting if possible. So yes, I'm just going with a little bit of S-curve. Let's bring this highlights up just a little bit. So alright, so this is what we got, the end result. I think I'm just going to increase the brightness of this image, the overall brightness, and decrease the contrast just a bit, -5, it's fine. So I think it's all. What we're gonna do now is just try and add a little bit of darkness in the back region, because this is the source of our light. So what I'm going to do is open the curve adjustment layer, bring this down entirely, and I'm going to invert this layer by clicking on Ctrl I, choose the brush, hold Alt or Option and right click on it to increase the diameter, and I'm just going to have 0 hardness, and I'm just going to paint over it with 50. Just paint over it. Yeah. So this is just a little bit of effect to make it look good. Just personal preference. Yeah. Alright, so this is it. This is our cinematic effect using Photoshop and Lightroom. So let me show you the before and after result. So this was before, this is after, before and after. So that's it for today, guys. Hope you have enjoyed this video and found this video helpful. Don't forget to leave one please to the video if you did. Do comment, share with your friends, and please do subscribe, and I will be meeting you on my next video. Till then, bye.